Hello, and thank you for joining us in our series on Catholic women. My name is Jenny Zahner, and today we'll be talking about St. Gianna Molla. St. Gianna Molla was born in Italy to a happy Catholic family. Her parents were third-order Franciscans and were very devout. She and her siblings remembered praying the rosary together as a family and lots of joy and peace in their household. From the age of 5, St. Gianna attended daily Mass and loved attending it. She was so pious that she was allowed to receive her first communion at the age of 5, which is significantly younger than normal. St. Gianna's parents wanted her and her siblings to study so that they could give back to their communities and they could be of greater service to others. However, St. Gianna was not a brilliant student. She struggled a lot through high school and elementary school, but she worked very hard. During high school, she went on a retreat, which revitalized her faith. After that, she made several resolutions, including a resolution to do everything for Jesus. Every work, every trouble, she would offer up to Jesus. In many ways, St. Gianna was a very typical woman of that time. She enjoyed outdoor sports. She loved climbing and skiing. She was artistic and musical. However, during this time, she also would visit the sick, and she would lead retreats for young girls as a young woman. During this time, St. Gianna decided that what she wanted to do was to study medicine so she could be of better service to the poor and to the needy around her. So she decided to become a medical doctor. Despite her academic struggles, she worked hard and studied hard. Here's something she said about being a doctor. She wrote, "The sick are images of Jesus Christ. The mission of doctors and nurses is to collaborate with this infinite mercy, helping, forgiving, and sacrificing themselves. Blessed are we doctors, if we remember that, beyond the bodies, there are immortal souls, which the gospel urges us to love as ourselves." She was a dedicated and devoted doctor. She would often visit patients in their own homes, and all of them so that they could feel that she loved them as a person as well as she desired to treat their physical ailments. At the age of 33, she went on a retreat to Lourdes. After that, she felt a strong call to marry a man named Pietro Molla. They were married at the age of 33 and 34. During their engagement, they exchanged many letters, and St. Gianna expressed a strong desire to be a good wife to him. She also expressed a desire to become collaborators in God's creation and to raise their children to be little saints. After their marriage, St. Gianna had 3 healthy babies. However, she suffered greatly during her pregnancies. Her first pregnancy went 25 days past her due date, and she was in labor for 36 hours. One of her later pregnancies, she had to be hospitalized for several months. However, when she was not hospitalized or recovering, she was constantly working with others. She continued her work as a doctor as much as she was able, even leaving the hospital to immediately go and visit her patients in their homes. However, during this time, she was no longer able to attend daily Mass, something which deeply hurt her, but she recognized that her work as a doctor and her care for her children took priority. After her 3 children were born, she had 2 miscarriages. After these miscarriages, she again became pregnant, much to her and her husband's joy. However, during this pregnancy, they found a fibroid tumor in her womb. The doctors were worried that this tumor could compress the baby, and they wanted to have it removed. The doctors advised that St. Gianna have her whole uterus removed, which would result in the death of the infant. However, Gianna knew that there was another option. She knew that the doctors could try and do surgery to remove the tumor from her uterus, but leave her uterus intact and potentially save the life of the child. She wrote to her husband and urged him that no matter what happened, she wanted him to save her child. She wanted to be a testimony to the love of a mother. After the baby was born, they named her Gianna Emanuela. Soon after her birth, Saint Gianna had a terrible abdominal infection and became very, very sick. At this time, she had premonitions of her death and knew that it would happen. She was unable to eat, and so she couldn't receive Holy Eucharist, but she asked that the doctors place the Eucharist on her lips. So she would hold the Eucharist in her lips and allow it to slowly dissolve in her mouth. After being in the hospital, Saint Gianna asked to be sent home, even though she was very sick. She went home and died on Easter Saturday in 1962. Today, her daughter, Gianna Emanuela, is still alive and works in a clinic for patients with Alzheimer's. She loves her mother dearly for the sacrifice that her mother made in choosing her life over Gianna's. In 2004, Gianna was canonized by St. Pope John Paul II. Her husband, her children, and several of her siblings were there at the Mass to witness her canonization. It was the first time in Catholic history that a husband has witnessed his wife's canonization. Saint Gianna Molla is a great representation of the words that we say in the Mass every day. When Christ was at the Last Supper, he took bread and he gave it to his disciples and he said, "This is my body, which is broken for you." Saint Gianna beautifully represents this in the sacrifice she made, giving up her own body, even dying for the sake of her beloved child. Thank you for joining us.